Hello, welcome to Summerfest Online 2020. Thank you very much for coming along to view these presentations. Just a quick reminder that we have a number of exhibitors in the exhibitors hall. If you want to go along and have a quick browse, maybe do some shopping, then we'd love to see you. And a quick reminder too about our wonderful sponsors, Yayo Hemp Products and Butte Island Cheese. They're also in the exhibitors hall and they'd love to see you too. If you've enjoyed the show, please remember this is a free event, and if you'd like to make a small donation, you'd be very welcome. Please go to the Friends of VegFest page to make a donation. And a reminder too, we have another show in November, London Online, and in next March, Plant Powered Expo. And you can find out all about that on VegfestUK. Thanks very much and enjoy the presentation.
Hello, welcome to Animal Experiments, a Beginner's Guide. My name is Jessamy and I manage the Animal Experiments campaign at Animal Aid. Our main campaign at the moment is calling for a ban on warfare experiments, although we are opposed to and campaign against all animal experiments. Animal Aid not only engages with our supporters and members of the public, writing and producing leaflets and reports about animal experiments, which are free to order. We also engage with politicians, journalists, Home Office officials and others in order to push for an end to all animal experiments through as many different avenues as possible. So what are animal experiments? Animal experiments are governed by a piece of legislation called the Animals Scientific Procedures Act. This outlines what are called protected animals, which means the animals to which the law applies. This includes all mammals apart from humans, reptiles, amphibians, birds, and octopi. The fetal or embryonic forms of these species are covered from a certain point in their development. The experiments themselves can involve almost anything you could imagine. Poisoning an animal, poisoning a pregnant animal and then her babies once they're born, surgical mutilation, injecting cancer cells into an animal's heart, burning them, irradiating them, force-feeding them chemicals, making them inhale nerve agents, Ebola, or other harmful substances, shooting them in the eyes, or using baby animals to grow pathogens. So what's the current scale of animal experiments? The latest figures show that more than 3.3 million animals were used for the first time in experiments in Great Britain last year. Due to the nature of the experiments, some animals will die before the experiment itself has ended. Of those who do survive, most will be killed and their bodies cut up and analysed. Some animals who survive until the end will be used in further experiments. It's worth mentioning at this point the numerous ways in which animals can be killed. These vary with age, weight and species, but include having their necks broken, being bled to death, gassed with carbon dioxide, being refrigerated, minced up, hit on the head, or decapitated. So who conducts this work? Some of the experiments are funded or otherwise supported by charities, such as Cancer Research UK and the British Heart Foundation. They may fund work in their own laboratories or give grants to researchers at universities or PhD students. There are also experiments conducted in government laboratories, such as Porton Down, and in contract research organisations known as CROs. CROs are establishments that conduct experiments on behalf of other companies, such as those making agricultural products or pharmaceuticals. In 2019, more than half of the procedures were conducted at universities or medical schools. So what are the animals actually used for? There are different areas where animals will be used, including basic research. This is done to try and learn more and does not need to apply to any disease or health condition. Applied research tries to prevent disease and develop treatments. And regulatory testing. This is carried out to satisfy legal requirements. And currently, these experiments amount to about 12% or 1/8 of all experiments. So which animals are used? There are not many animals that are not used in laboratories. Most people know about rats and mice, that they are used in laboratories, but so too are dogs, cats, horses, monkeys, birds, ferrets, hamsters, rabbits, gerbils, pigs, goats, sheep, cattle, fish, frogs, and toads. So what's the legal side of animal experiments? The proponents of animal experiments will tell you how they're well regulated. It's true that licenses are required to harm and kill animals in this way. Obviously, if you were to treat an animal in this way at home, you'd be rightly prosecuted. However, despite the regulations and the licenses which are needed to conduct experiments and the inspections of this work by Home Office officials, we still know of the terrible suffering which is not covered by the licenses, but which still happens. A report which outlines breaches of the licenses, amongst other things, for years has reported instances of animals dying because they've not been provided with food and water. Animals have also been crushed to death in cage mechanisms, steamed to death, had procedures done for which there was no authorization, died of starvation due to overgrown teeth, and have been subjected to botched attempts to kill them. So what do the proponents of animal experiments say? Those who conduct animal experiments and their supporters will tell you that animal experiments save lives and that animal welfare standards in the UK are the best in the world, that there's a regulatory framework in place, and that most animals don't feel much pain, and that these experiments wouldn't be conducted if there was an alternative. So what do opponents say about animal experiments? Animal Aid is opposed to and has campaigned for an end to animal experiments for more than 40 years. We are opposed to animal experiments on both moral and scientific grounds. Put very simply, animal experiments are poor science. That they cost the lives of millions of animals a year is doubly scandalous. Animal experiments don't work because animals are different to humans. If you do an experiment on a dog, all you will learn will be how a dog's heart recovers from being damaged, or how a dog reacts to being force-fed weed killer or a household cleaning ingredient. These differences are called species differences, and they are one of the reasons why the information from animal experiments cannot be reliably translated to humans. Species differences mean that while most humans love chocolate, it can kill dogs. That's a simple example that most people know. Because animals react in different ways to humans, to chocolate or medication perhaps, this can mean that some toxic substances appear safe because of how they behave in animals, and the danger is only discovered when they are tested in humans. The other side of the coin is that a potentially wonderful new cure could have terrible effects in animals, which could lead to it being rejected. Who knows how often this has happened in the past? As well as species differences, there are other reasons animal experiments cannot be reliably translated to humans. A homogeneous group of animals living in the very restricted and controlled environment of a laboratory can't predict the response of human patients living their very different lives in natural conditions. Additionally, diseases which are artificially induced or created in animals in laboratories do not reflect the naturally occurring human illnesses. As I mentioned earlier, an experiment involved injecting animals in their hearts with cancer cells so that they circulated around their bodies. But we know this is not how cancer starts in people. Additionally, the common side effects to drugs, which could be present in humans, can't be detected in animal tests. These symptoms are things such as nausea, dizziness, depression, confusion, and double vision. But it's not just animal rights groups who are opposed to animal experiments. There is a growing body of scientific evidence against them. Here are just two quotes by extremely well-respected and eminent scientists. The National Institute of Health, the NIH, in the US, describe themselves as the largest public funder of biomedical research. The former head of the NIH stated, "We have moved away from studying human disease in humans." He later went on, "The problem is that it hasn't worked, and it's time we stop dancing around the problem." He continued, "We need to refocus and adapt new methodologies for use in humans to understand disease biology in humans." Another eminent scientist, a professor of medicine who conducts cancer research using human cancer cells, stated, "An obvious truth that is either being ignored or going unaddressed in cancer research is that mouse models do not mimic human disease well and are essentially worthless for drug development." She also explained how, in the final analysis, then, one of the main reasons we continue to stick to this archaic ethos is to obtain funding. So why are animal experiments still conducted? You might think that if they aren't reliably translated to humans, then they wouldn't still be conducted. As I mentioned just now, one reason is for researchers to be able to obtain grants. Also, if a researcher has built their career and reputation upon using animals in experiments, it's quite a leap and also a brave step for them to publicly admit that animal experiments don't work, that they're going to turn their back on everything that they have done before, and that they're going to learn new, humane, scientific ways of working. So what can you do to stop animal experiments? While the scale and terrible nature of animal experiments can seem overwhelming, there are ways that individuals can make a difference, such as with charities. You can boycott the shops and don't donate or leave a legacy to charities who fund or conduct animal experiments. It's also worth writing to them and politely telling them why you won't support them. You can find a list of hundreds of different charities and their policies on Animal Aid's website. Also, don't buy products from companies who test on animals. In fact, use vegan businesses like the Animal Aid shop, where nothing is tested on animals, and in addition, everything is vegan. You can also subscribe to the Animal Aid e-news, where we'll keep you updated on all of our campaigns and how you can get involved. And you can also order our digital animal experiments pack. Learn more about animal experiments so that you can speak out against them. Thank you very much.